It's the Locked On Flyers podcast for Friday, October 13th, your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content. That is pretty happy with a season opening win for the Flyers, Russ.
Yeah, I mean, it was mostly good.
Yeah, we are going to get into this game, whether the players under pressure performed well, plus preview the weekend matchup against Ottawa, all on today's show.
Your Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, and thanks again for making Locked On Flyers your first listen every day. I am Rachel Donner. You can find me on the app formerly known as Twitter at rmiriam. I'm here as always with Russ Cohen, who's on all your favorite social media apps at Sportsology. And as a show, we're on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky at Locked On Flyers as well. You can subscribe or follow us for free over on YouTube or on the SiriusXM app. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, subscribe so you'll get our latest episode as soon as it's available here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Russ, heading into this game, there were no surprises on the lineup. It's, pretty much as advertised.
Yeah, surprised me.
Yeah. Well, Ristolainen was still hurt, so he's still on the injured list. Tyson Forster, Emil Andre sat for this one. Bobby Brink has a new number. Happened a couple of days ago, but first chance to see it in action.
Yep.
Number 10. All these, like Morgan Frost is the lone wolf standing with the number in the 40s from that crew. I thought it was telling that Tortorella started the fourth line for this game. I thought it was kind of just trying to set the tone early, right?
Well, I mean, it's his favorite line. It's gonna be his favorite line. Like
Yeah.
that's fine. I mean, for if it makes him feel good, then let him do it. Is it gonna work against all teams? I don't know if it's gonna, but for this game, it was fine.
Yeah, I think so too. Honestly, especially because Paling is pretty solid at faceoffs. I
Yeah,
think,
yes.
it's not a horrible thing to put them out there.
No, no, but you got to get offensive production at some point. That's all.
Sure. I think that's fair. I do want to address the Ivan Provorov pregame comments, saying that his game got worse in Philadelphia because of the style of play. I think that there's maybe a little truth to it, but I think there's also some truth that Ivan Provorov's individual game struggled, and there were points with multiple coaches where he just said, "I don't care, I'm doing my own thing," and still wasn't successful entirely.
Right. I do think there was truth on both sides. At
Mhm.
this point, I think everybody's over it. But I do think there was
Well,
truth on
he
both.
isn't, and I think
No,
that's the point.
yeah. I mean, but there's truth on both sides. So it's like, yeah, whatever. I look at it and I say, I do think he took a few shots at Torts uh, because he felt like Torts wanted him out of there and traded him, and that's fine. He wanted to get his revenge. He got it. Whatever.
I did think it was fitting that Cam Atkinson scored the game-winning goal, skating by Ivan Provorov,
Yeah, that was
trying
good. He
to
showed a
protect
nice
that.
speed burst there. That was
Yeah.
um that was impressive. That was a good play.
Yeah, I think so too. It was more an impressive play, I think, from Carter Hart, wrapping it around the
Hmm.
net. And it's a good opportunity to talk about Carter Hart's game, which was, I think, like many Carter Hart games, starts out a little wobbly. Was giving up some rebounds, I thought, early
Hmm.
in the game, but
Yeah,
then
early on.
early on, but really settled into it and was a huge factor in the Flyers winning this game ultimately.
Yeah, I don't think they win it without him because I think as the game went on, because the Flyers did a good job early on, but as the game went on, I did feel like there were times, not all the time, because the Flyers did hem them in as well, but I did feel like the Blue Jackets had some really prime scoring chances that he took away, and so based on that, I was like, yeah, Hart, I did think was the major factor.
Yeah, I was so bummed out about that line A goal at the end because I really think that was more a fault of the Flyers kind of turtling
Yeah,
when they were kind of under attack there. But I do think that overall Carter Hart played very well in this game. I was
he did.
very happy to see him get the assist on that empty net goal as well.
Mhm.
He should have. But I think overall, just a real solid performance in net. Very happy to see it. I think the Flyers overall, there was sloppiness, like a lot of sloppiness on both sides of this
Sure.
game.
Oh yeah,
And I think that it was very indicative to me of a first game of the season where not everything is together and
yeah,
not everything is clicking, right?
yeah. There's no question about it. I mean, I would say on both sides, the defenses were at times really porous. Uh, Turnovers. I mean, the Flyers had a lot of
Turnovers
turnovers.
aplenty on both
A lot of
sides.
turnovers. So, that's something where, the coach is going to want them to clean it up. It's also a function of not everybody playing together because of preseason. So you have to just kind of know that.
Yeah, I think that was a huge factor in this game. And,
Yeah.
for a while to me, until I would say maybe mid third period, I was like, whoever makes the last mistake in this game is going to lose. Right.
Right.
And
It
then,
did seem
and
that
then,
way.
yeah, but
It
that I
really did.
did feel like the Flyers really played like as smartly as they could in an aggressive way. Right. I felt like if you looked at the chances they were trying to take. They were certainly trying to make plays happen. Again, the turnovers were there too, but they were just trying to make things happen pretty consistently. And I think it got increased as the game went on. And I felt like the penalty kill really did its job overall.
Yeah, the penalty kill did its job. Not all plays were smart. We'll get into it in the next segment, but
Right.
the penalty kill definitely did its job. You could see there's an improvement there.
Yeah. And I believe they got more shots on goal on the penalty kill than the shots they allowed. Now, not the 6-on-5, if we're just talking
Right.
pure uh, power play penalty
Yeah, yeah,
kill.
yeah.
I think that's how the numbers turned out that way, which is pretty solid for game 1
Oh yeah.
of the season, and I really like, again, pulling Travis Konechny in on the penalty kill.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
smart.
that it's really smart, and of course, having Cam Atkinson back out there, really helps as well because he's really good at that power kill method, which
Yeah,
of course, was developed in Columbus while he
yeah,
was there.
yeah.
So, I think that just having those 2 guys out there was really good to see. But, yeah, I do think, like, there were definitely some key mistakes that could have gone south, but again, I think the Flyers got lucky and the Flyers had Carter Hart.
Yeah, I think Carter Hart more than luck. I think because like I said, he stopped a lot of point blank stuff. He There were times the guys just walked in on him like there was no defense at all.
Yeah, I think so. There were definitely some nervous giveaways from some of the younger guys. Bobby
Mhm.
Brink did. Now he managed to get back and stop the play, which I thought
He
was
did.
pretty good and pretty heads up. Zamula had a pretty bad giveaway
Hmm.
net front in this one. But I think, overall, they did okay.
Yeah, I think Brink really has to figure out how to be more of a force offensively still. He really wasn't. I mean, he there was one little chance on the side, but he was losing some puck battles in the corner. That's why I wouldn't have him on the top line. I just think you're not going to get to see the best of Bobby Brink on the top line because when you face other teams' top lines, he's getting pinned in the corner sometimes. I mean, he's trying his best. Don't get me wrong. It's just it's a bad matchup. I just didn't like the matchup.
Right, and that's where I think he's benefiting on the top power play unit because he's with those guys and there's
Yeah.
more space for him to work,
Hmm.
whereas just 5 on 5, maybe he needs to move down the lineup a little
Yeah.
bit for the better matchups. I think that's where the difference was for me because it was very apparent that he was getting better chances and making better plays while he was on that power play.
Yeah. No doubt. No doubt. I think that's fair.
I think there's, some more good nuggets to take away from this game. And we talked yesterday about some players who were under pressure this season. And we're going to talk about how they did in this first game of the season coming up next.
The NHL season's finally here. As we talked about, the Flyers begin tonight. I love the NHL and know you do too. That's why I want to tell you about Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is my go-to platform for daily fantasy sports, especially daily fantasy hockey. With Sleeper, you have a chance to win 100 times your cash on daily fantasy. The NHL has never been more exciting than it is now, with star players like McDavid, Ovechkin, Crosby, Connor Bedard, and Cale Makar, or Flyers players like Sean Couturier and Travis Konechny. Simply select more or less based on their stats, such as goals, assists, points, saves, and more. Yes, you heard me, Flyers fans. Sleeper offers 100 times payouts, so start paying attention, make the right picks, and you can win big. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL. You'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms for use for details.
On the show next week, we'll have a lot of game action to talk about. We'll recap the Sens game from this weekend. Plus, they've got their home opener against the Canucks, who just beat the Oilers 8-1. That game was absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, it was.
Got to see a good part of that. So excited to see both of those teams next week, and we will talk about it then. Yesterday, like I said, we talked about some guys who were kind of under the most pressure this year on the team. And I got to say, man, Joel Farabee was at the top of both of our lists. And who scores the first Flyers goal of the season but Joel Farabee?
Yeah, it was a nice play. Good 2-on-0. Couturier did his job, although it took him a little while to get in the picture. You could see the speed difference there between Farabee and Couturier right now. It's pretty pronounced.
Right.
And so, but still, nice play, nice goal. That's what you do want to see out of Farabee. So that was nice to see. That was like, okay, maybe we'll see a different Joel Farabee this year.
Yeah. And I thought he, again, like I suggested, his time on the power play is where he really has to step it up more because he's going to
Yes.
get more chances. And I thought he did pretty well. I think that, overall that power play unit was a little struggly, but I do think that he particularly played well there. And I think that it was a good first outing for Joel Farabee, and he just needs to keep it up as the season progresses.
Yeah, no doubt. And yeah, good first start. I think he can build on that and build off that, and that's good.
Yeah, now Owen Tippett was on our list as well, and, I thought he didn't really stand out a
One
ton
play,
in
he had
this
one good
game.
play.
Yeah, I think now it could be maybe a product of the matchups and the line he was on, but also I think that there was a couple of times where maybe there was just again some of that discombobulation of game one and the jittery thing of game one where just passes weren't quite connecting and pucks were getting stolen and maybe there were some missed opportunities there, but he certainly did not stand out to me.
No, I think there's some of that. I also think there's more guys now than there were last year to possibly score. So he's going to get less touches. He's going to get less opportunity. He's not getting 21 minutes a game anymore, like those few games that we talked about, because there's other options. So he has to make the most of his chances now. And we talked about that a few shows ago, and I do think that was evident tonight.
Yeah, that is 100% true, and, the touches were a lot more divided. I think
Yes.
that's absolutely fair. Somebody else near the top of our list was Travis Sanheim, and I think that he really is stepping up as a leader on this team. I felt like he was, talking to officials. He was just really, trying to talk to the other guys to like talk about the upcoming play. As much as you could see on TV, I just felt like he was doing those things that more veteran guys do.
He was. I still don't think he was a force at all offensively, and the one penalty wasn't good, but like overall it was
No.
a decent game. But look, I think it's nice that he gained 15 pounds of muscle, but I don't know if that's going to help his offense. I don't know if that's necessarily what he needed either. Like there's a thing here in this league. It's like, yes, there's a point where players need to get stronger, and usually that point is within their first few seasons. Uh, Braden Coburn was never like a 225-pound guy.
No.
You know what I mean? And he got
Yeah.
the job done, and I feel like he has a similar build to what Sanheim used to. So I'm not sure, becoming Superman is going to help his game. That's something where I look at that and I say, yeah, I don't know if that's a benefit. We'll see.
Yeah, he had 5 chances in this game with 2 shots on goal, led the team in minutes, as you would expect he would,
No, the minutes
honestly.
definitely. I mean, he's got to suck up those minutes. That we
Yeah,
knew.
so he was, 23 and a half minutes thereabouts in this game, and that checks out for the guy who is, like, by default, your number 1 defenseman, right?
Yeah. He just needs to bury those chances, get some of those points. That's what he needs to do.
I think so. I also want to talk about Cam York defensively. I thought he had a real solid game.
York was mostly solid. I think there was a bad play late in the game that could have cost him, but I think he was mostly solid. I did like him on late on the penalty kill. I think he was out there and made a good play. Yeah, I mean, again, I would like to see some little offense out of him, but his defensive game was very good.
I think so too. And I think, he really did what you're supposed to do in a situation like this is kept it simple. Like
Yes.
he just wasn't trying to go too outside the bounds of what he knew he could do. I thought he played it safe, but in a good way.
Yeah.
And I think that was smart of him. And like you said, it was, not the best game you're ever going to see from him, but it was real good. And aside from that one mistake, I think, you come away feeling pretty happy with your performance in this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. No, he was fine. I had no issues with him.
Also want to talk about Morgan Frost, who I think I think the matchups were not exactly in his favor
Hmm.
out there. I think that he struggled a little bit just simply because of that. But again, I don't think he made major mistakes either. I think,
He
he
didn't.
played a solid game and but just didn't really have a chance to break out as much as maybe he would have
Yeah, I
liked.
think he was a victim of trying to be a little unselfish and make some plays happen, and it
Mhm.
didn't happen. So, okay, you know, I could live with it.
Yeah, I think so too. Also want to talk about Noah Cates because God, what a blessing he
Yeah,
is.
on the
Just
penalty kill, especially. Yeah,
yeah, penalty kill, especially on that one penalty kill where he had 3 plays that he made to keep the puck out of the Flyers zone and just like intercepting pucks. So just his anticipation on the penalty kill
smart
is,
hockey player. Yeah,
I know, just such a gorgeous thing to watch.
yeah,
And I think that it, considering that he really didn't get as much of an offensive push as maybe he would have liked in this game, he still was just such a huge factor in the win.
yeah. I think again, if all these guys stay in the lineup, he's going to get fewer touches too. It's just the way it is. So I'm not looking for offense like a lot of people are. I'm looking for his good defense, good skating, making smart plays. I think that's the main thing for him.
Yeah, I think so too. So those were our pressure guys. I do want to talk a little bit about Travis Konechny
Hmm.
because I thought his goal was great.
It was.
And it was good to see, man, that was like 0.2 seconds left to get that extra empty netter at the end. Was still a good play, and
Yeah,
important to follow through on those sorts of plays. And I love that we saw a little glimpse of the Lawton Konechny connection that
yeah,
we talked about recently, that, when it's working really well, they can make some absolutely gorgeous plays.
yeah. The only thing is though, and I thought it was a bad time in the game for him to just sort of single out Gabranson, because if you're taking Gabranson off the ice and Konechny's going off the ice, Columbus wins that. And
Yeah.
I just felt like that was a bad time for him to do it. I'm not against him doing that stuff, but I thought it was poor timing on that.
Yeah, that's fair. I also think we should just mention real quickly about the Werenski injury.
Yeah.
Really unfortunate, but and
It was unnecessary. I mean, it really was.
yeah,
There was no way Hathaway needed to do that hit. The puck was long gone. He didn't even try and slow up. It was unnecessary. So that's why the
right. I
penalty
do.
was correct.
Yeah, I think the penalty was correct as well. I think it was a minor penalty because I don't think it was particularly reckless. It was just poorly timed and a bad
Well, I
choice.
mean, he did lift his knee. I mean, it wasn't great.
Yeah, I still think it was a minor penalty. I still think that was the correct call that they wound up with in the end. But yep, Flyers start off with a 4-2 victory to start the season. They turn around to go to Ottawa to face the Senators on Saturday, and we will talk about that coming up next. All right, so the Ottawa Senators, they lost their season opener to the Carolina Hurricanes 5-3. Their goals that they had in that one were from Tim Stützle, Matthew Joseph, and Parker Kelly. They struggled on the power play, were
Oh
0
yeah.
for 4. They were 5 for 6 on the PK, so clearly they took a lot of penalties in that one. Man, Tim Stützle is not good at face-offs, by the way.
No.
Like, he is entirely responsible for them being under 50%. Like, everybody else who took face-offs, you have Tkachuk and you have Giroux who are
Yeah.
killing it, and then Tim Stützle just cannot win a face-off to save his life.
It's not going to kill him because they have the other two, but it's not great.
Right. No, it's not great. So, you wanna like be smart about those matchups and do what
Yeah.
you can when you're facing Tim Stützle as the center there.
Well, they're
The other
having
thing about
center trouble. I mean,
yeah.
Pinto should be there. He's not there. They're only carrying 20 guys. Like right now, that team is in disarray.
Yeah, and that's a real factor here because they're in serious salary cap hell, which is why they only have 20 rostered players right now. They had to play down a man, 17
Yeah.
skaters in that opener due to that cap situation. So they went with 11 forward and 6D in that game. They only have $62,000 in cap space, and 5 million of their cap is dead cap right now. And you mentioned Shane Pinto. Yeah, he's not signed because they don't have room for him under the cap.
Yeah,
It's
they
not a
mismanaged the cap. They should have before they got Tarasenko. They should have made sure they had Pinto signed and paid Tarasenko with the difference. They did it the opposite, and it's hurt them, and it's going to continue to hurt until they figure out a deal or a way or something. But this is something the Flyers could take advantage of because they're literally playing short.
yeah, and the Sens have been trying to trade Matthew Joseph for a while now to
Even though
clear
he
3 million.
scores,
Yeah, I know the irony of it all.
he's a
It's
decent
so
player. It's just
funny.
his salary's too high.
Right, he's getting paid about 3 million, and that's the cap space they need for Shane Pinto, and they're willing to part with him. The problem is that, like, the return has offers have not been good enough,
No,
and so they haven't made the deal. The Flyers were rumored to be in on it for
yeah,
a while. Right now, I think the Islanders were the last team rumored
yeah.
to maybe be
Because he's a
involved.
Long Island guy, Pinto. So
Yeah, yeah. So that's like a whole thing in and of itself.
a lot of
Not
drama.
sure. Yeah, a lot of drama in Ottawa right now. Plus, Josh Norris is out due
Right.
to a shoulder injury. They might have to have an emergency recall to cover his space in the lineup. Again, mismanagement.
Really mismanagement. It's bad. I mean, the new owner can't be happy. Like he just takes over, and all of this is just hitting the fan.
Yeah, it's real bad. Our old pal Zach McEwen is also hurt. He's day to day, so not sure if we'll see either Norris or McEwen. I would say chances are low. I mean,
I
anything's
would say
possible.
Norris, no. McEwen, I'm not sure. I just don't know.
Yeah, yeah, but
We'll see Claude
uh,
Giroux.
yeah, we will. Of course, that um, we do see Claude Giroux there, and their two biggest potent weapons we're going to face are Kachuk and Drake Batherson, who are both excellent,
Yeah,
excellent players in this one. Of course, neither one of them scored in that opening game. So they're going to be really itching to get on the board for
Oh
this
yeah.
one.
Yeah, this is one where, again, if you want to start the fourth line, fine, because they're down a man or whatever.
Mhm.
But if you match that fourth line up against Kachuk, be prepared because he doesn't care about mixing it up, but he's going to skate past you. And that was one thing. Delorier just, he didn't look fleet of foot tonight. We have to be honest about that. He got there were guys that skated past him. Um,
Yeah.
and that's something where if you play the wrong team going with that line, it could be a detriment too.
Right. And, they have Ridley Gregg out there as their
Yeah.
2C, which I think is a little high for
It's a
Gregg.
little high for right now. He's a talent,
Yeah.
but it's a little high right now.
Right. But still, like having guys like that out there with Kachuk on a different line but Greg is out there with Drake Batherson and Matthew Joseph right now. At least that's what that line was in
Yeah.
their first game. Like you can't put like the Delorier line out there up
No.
against that. Like, I mean, Paling has the speed, but like you can't have just one guy with the speed in order to combat that. So I think it's the matchups are going to be a huge factor
Yeah, you
in this
won't have a
game.
last change, so they do have to be a little careful. They didn't in this game either, but in this game, I wasn't as worried about it. With the Ottawa one, they're definitely better skaters.
Yeah, I think so as well. Korpisalo started the first game for Ottawa. Probably see him again, I would
Yeah, I think
say.
we'll see him, and he's okay. He's not a great goalie, so the Flyers will have the edge in net. Korpisalo is like NHL average. That's what I think he is.
Yeah, I think so. And they made a big splash getting Chikrin, but I don't know that he's had like as huge an impact as maybe they would have liked.
Yeah, again, that's what I was worried about if like the Flyers or other teams going for Chikrin. Like the offense isn't as great as you think it's going to be. He's really steady. He's physical. You have to worry about him getting hurt, but the offense is good. But they were using like all of these small window situations to kind of gauge his offense, and I don't think his offense is what it's cracked up or what it was hyped up to be.
Yeah, and that's where I think the Flyers are going to have to be really smart, right? Because the Ottawa defense is fine, but it's nothing to write home about either.
He's
And I think the
mobile though,
Flyers,
like with Shabbat and that these guys can skate, and so it's
right?
super mobile. That's the one thing.
Right, and that's where I'm saying, like, they're gonna have to get by these guys, but they're
Yeah.
gonna have play opportunities if they
Yes.
can, and so that's why the matchups are gonna have to be, again, really important here to be able to get the Flyers offensive opportunities in this
Yeah, I
one.
agree with that.
All right. Well, we'll see how this one goes, and we will talk about it on the Monday show, of course, as well as have our new nemesis of the week. I love in-season nemesis of the week. They
Yeah,
get to
that's
be
always fun.
a lot more directed and a lot more
Yeah, a lot
fun.
more to choose from.
As a reminder, we always want to hear from you. We'll have a mailbag segment next week. So send in your questions via the app formerly known as Twitter at Locked On Flyers. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail or comment over on YouTube. I'm Rachel. I'm on Twitter at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm at Sportsology, SPORTSOLOGY.
Have a great weekend, everyone.